thousands of such trainings going on around you, but that is again a business going around. Don't fuel it. I hate those. I hate taking those courses. I am completely against those courses.
So, ma'am, let's talk about your initial days, like your school days, and what was your preparation for college at that time, and what was your vision for studying and college?
Okay. Uh, I was a very confused kid all through school, I believe. Like every year, I had a different career goal. Some years I wanted to pursue law, some years I wanted to join the armed forces. So it was really in the end of class 12 that it struck me I have to come to a conclusive decision now. So, what is it that everybody is doing? And I followed my friends and gave all the possible JEs and other engineering entrance examinations, and yeah, it was KIIT that I got a fair seat, to get into a computer science like domain. So yeah, computer science, because my father's colleague suggested that that is the best thing to go with. So I really had no clue what I was getting into, but luckily, yes, I really took a liking for this, and yeah, I will be continuing in this domain. So somewhat, it happened to be on the right track.
So, you didn't have computer science in your school,
Never,
like in your
never.
So was it difficult to like in school you didn't have computer science, and then when you come to college and then you see that some students are
Mm.
they have studied computer science since a very small age and you have to compete with them. So what's the mindset you have at that time?
I was terrified in first year. Honestly, terrified. Um, so I went to my tutor mentor in the second semester and I told her, "Ma'am, I don't know what to do." So luckily, she guided me to one of our professors in the computer science department, and he called me in and he's like, "Tell me what's your issue." Like, "Sir, this is the problem. I don't know computer science." He's like, "Nobody knows computer science. You've come here to know that." Like, "No, sir, I don't know C, I don't know Java. All my friends are answering in class and whatnot." So he gave me one more hour and he actually sat me down, gave me some logical questions, and he's like, give me answers to these. So I gave the answers and he's like, "This is what we are trying to teach you in computer science. Just learn the language afterwards." So that clarity, I think a lot of us don't have. I did not have. And as threatening as it sounds initially, when you're actually thrown into an ocean from a pond. So, but you cope through. That is not an issue. Like, in fact, my both my hostel roommates were also non-computer science people. So three of us would panic together in first year what to do. So, but yeah, we are all working in the IT sector now, and I think everybody is doing pretty fair. So that is never an issue. But I hope somebody would have given me that assurance back then. I would have slept better a couple of months. Yeah, that is that. That's all.
Coding started in second semester.
Yes. I don't know what is it the curriculum now, but in second semester, I think yeah, for our batches, all branches had programming subjects, so that is where it started with me as well.
Just to means go to a technical side, just
Hmm.
to start up with it.
Hmm.
So currently you're working as a DevOps engineer, right? So
Correct.
it's not particularly a typical domain for someone. Means currently if you see that there are many programs, internship program or some courses that people run around college, you get mail for them, but you never get to see DevOps in that anywhere. So means what was your first interaction with DevOps? Like how you got to know about that particular domain, and what made you select that as a career choice?
I particularly did not select it. So what happens is when a company comes and recruits you as a developer, so they state it as an SD profile and then they put you in respective teams wherever they have the requirements. So for me, it happened to be they did put me into the DevOps team. And when I walked in and I was told that you're going to be a part of our DevOps team, all I knew about DevOps was a buzzword. Just like machine learning was going on during our times. So it's DevOps. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something cool probably. So then, yeah, that is how I got introduced. And DevOps is a very versatile. The job profile is really versatile, and
Right.
you will not get to see those things coming in your college brochures for training and all because it is not something you can do on a small scale. I mean, it is not an Android app that you can develop that will come in as a training, or going through basic machine learning skills maybe. It is something that you need to learn on the field, and that is how it happened for me as well. So that is where I would want to point out is knowing your core computer science subjects really helps. Knowing your databases, computer networking, operating systems, these things really come handy if you are moving into a systems engineering role. So DevOps, yeah, really opened up those avenues for me. I was able to, relate to what actually I was taught in class to what is actually happening in the real time. What is how you are scaling a system, things like that, which you actually learn as a theory and maybe you forget it.
Right. So just to follow up on that, means what I heard from means your answer, what I got was that there's no stopping to this learning curve that you started with learning the basic core subjects in college, and then it
Hmm.
escalated to something else that you means didn't interview for maybe, but then you were put in that team, DevOps team, and all that life cycle. So
Hmm.
how fast one needs to adapt to learning all these new things means daily new technologies are coming in and all these things. So how fast one should means be prepared to adapt to these things.
Every day.
Right.
I think, yeah, you will walk into work tomorrow and there is a new requirement that will come in your project itself, and that will make you go learn a different subject, go learn a different framework. Tomorrow, we are now, so a very basic example that I would give you is suppose you have servers in your currently you are working with a company that has in-house servers. You're sitting almost right next to the server. Now you would want to actually scale to a cloud infrastructure. So the next thing for you would be to actually forget what you know of your in-house servers, and you need to go and learn what is happening on that cloud platform. So this thing happens as and when technology is progressing, we are adapting. So you always have to keep your mind open to it. That any day tomorrow you will have to, that is, I mean, on the field learning has to happen. You cannot know something and expect that this is going to sustain me for a long time. You will be outdated in this industry, and there is fresh people coming in from colleges every year, and in no time you will be replaced.
Got it.
So, ma'am, as you said that you started learning for DevOps while you were working 2 years back when you started working. So, did you have any particular domain that you were engaged in college time? Like any particular subject you were involved in?
Not a subject per se, but I would, it is sometime around third year that I developed an interest in, contributing in open source. Yeah, that is where it started for me. So most of my work that I did in end of third year, fourth year together would be open source contributions in different projects. Um, that has helped me in a sense that when you're actually contributing to open source projects, there is no barrier. Of course you can filter out things on, maybe a language of your choice or something, but if you walk in with an open mind, then there is, of course, everything you see around you is for you to learn. So maybe that has helped me in the sense that I was sometimes working on a plugin that was written in JavaScript. I was then working on a project that had Python. So doing that switch has actually helped me here.
So just a small follow-up question that I had in mind from the very beginning
Yeah, tell
was
me.
that like even library management system and whatever projects, small scale projects that we all do in college, that's just like a dummy learning project So those are fairly simple projects per se, right? So suddenly, when someone starts to contribute to open source or starts building a website which has dynamic requirements and all these things, so moving from that kind of a project, library management system, and to again something this big and this scalable, dynamic, everything. So what difference does it bring? Means how will one actually think of moving from this to this?
Um, First thing I would want to point out is it is not easy to do a library management project. If you're actually designing the project from scratch and not copying it online, it is very difficult. So, see, there's one liberty that you get while you're doing your college project is it is all yours. It is all yours. You own it. And if something breaks, it's on you. If something works, you get the reward. But the best part of it is you are the one who is doing everything from ideation to actually implementing it. I remember from our case, my professor was very strict on the fact that you cannot just make any app or you cannot come with any solution randomly. It has to serve a purpose. And he would be happy if it would serve a social purpose. So we went out and we did our due market research or what is required. Those things you do. So it is not just you sit and you would program that project and it is all done. You would do the designing. You would come up with the idea. You would see the feasibility of it. Is it working or not, or is it just in my head that it's working? So those things, and just to have a project up and running, I think you've touched base on everything. You have your database, you're looking at your front end. Even if the solution itself is using a machine learning algorithm in the back end, you still have to make it presentable in a way that me as a user will be able to understand what you're providing. So I believe that itself is a very wholesome thing to do, and I would suggest everyone to give good effort on that. We get I think an entire year to work on a full-fledged project. There's something called a minor and a major project thing that comes in. So especially for you guys, I think end of third year we are already informed about it, and fourth year is the time you work on it entirely. So use that time very well, and give your input. Give your input. Coming to this versus doing it in real life, doing it in real life in terms, you mean, if I would say doing it with open source projects, there can be very small open source projects, there can be large libraries you're contributing to. So for starters, browser,
Yes.
it'll greet you per the time of the day maybe. So those are practically like 200 lines of code, even less. So that is something it's very handy to get started with. You'll get the feel of working with people you don't know personally. Because in college, you pick your friends and, I am comfortable with this guy, this girl, and so this is my group. You get out of that shell and you learn how the way the entire world is programming. You get the feel of it. So that way it's good. It's not very heavy that you cannot do it, or it's painstakingly taking a lot of your time or getting you nervous out of somewhere. No, it's not that.
Okay, ma'am. So let's now talk about placement and coding stuff. So,
Hmm.
how was your placement preparation, and how much competitive coding did you do?
I did not do much of programming. I was doing some. I did some, but I was not doing enough. What I would say is, for the placement perspective, if you're looking at programming, it is always the company that you are targeting. So there are companies like DirectEye and Coordination that will actually demand very high level of expertise. There are companies that will come give you like two, three questions on um, AMCAT and other platforms. So there is always a difference in that level of questions that you receive. My suggestion would be, be hands on with platforms. I mean, being okay with hacker rank and code chef, things like these. It's okay. It's okay. You will get through fair amount of companies. You need to, just be fluent with it. There is no language bar that you need to, you need to pick up Python and you need to be a pro in Python, but you need to, be comfortable programming on a platform. So that is there, and yeah, that's it. So placements per
So,
se, that is there, and this is a very important life skill as a computer science engineer. Once you are outside in the industry, you need to know your programming. You need to be a good programmer. You don't need to be the best, but yes, you need to work on it.
ma'am, would you like to share that how what was your process of getting into HP?
HP's recruitment process. Okay. For me, there were two technical rounds. Okay, the first was an online round for me where they had a set of some 50 odd questions, 50 odd MCQ questions, and mostly they were on computer science subjects and some on aptitude. So that was a mix of it. Following that, we got two technical rounds. So for me, the first round went in. I was completely questioned on computer science fundamentals, operating systems, majorly concentrating on trees and data structures, and databases was but yeah, I was questioned hell lot on databases. In my second round, I was asked to design schema for an app, so the data schema for that app. So for me, both rounds were mostly focused on computer science subjects, and there were questions around my projects and your resume. So that is the normal thing. Everybody will ask what you put on your resume.
Also, I would like to ask, like, what is the best strategy, like, to go open-minded for an interview or to have a domain along with you? Like, it's better to have a domain or just go open-minded? Because what I have heard is that after when you enter a firm, they train you as they want. It hardly matters what you know. They train you what they want. So how does that go?
This process is very different on the type of company you're going in. So, if it is a service based company, yes, this is very true. Irrespective if you are a mechanical guy or you are a computer science person, they will put all of you in the same training and expect the same kind of output from you, the same performance. But when you are into a product based company, the scenario is very different. So there is no training per se like that. There is always, they will put you into real time projects, and that is where you learn. And yeah, they, of course, they also hire you in that manner. Product based company will hardly go and, hire a mechanical engineer in the first place. So they look into that, they do their due filtering. Also when you're going for, so there is also another set of companies that come in, which are the consultancy firms. So the companies like Deloitte, PwC. There's another one in Pune. Okay. Anyways, for consultancy firms, then again, your job is not entirely working with, as a programmer. You kind of cut a balance between doing that and dealing with your clients as well. So for them again, this is partially true. So you don't have much control on it. As a matter of fact, you don't have much control on anything, be it whatever company. It's always a vacancy based thing. They've come to hire you and they'll fill up whichever team needs it. So yeah, in that way, you do not have much liberty as a fresher. Of course, they provide you opportunities once you are growing with them. Maybe in a year, they do give you that liberty, to switch to the team you desire. Maybe you want to work in a more firmware based team, and you are, or maybe you are already in a networking profile. You would want to, move to an app development profile. So that liberty comes in. It is completely company dependent, and as a fresher, there is not much we have a say on that.
So let's now talk about internship stuff. So how important is an internship for like a fresher? and to get into a job? And how, like, if someone wants to get in a web development profile, then is it necessary for him to find an internship in which he was in the same similar domain or stuff like that?
It is always an advantage to have prior experience in something you're going in, because I would always want to hire a cook who knows to hire, who has been cooking around, who did some cooking for my friends, and I got a good review on that. So that internship just acts like a validation on your resume. So if you have prior experience in Android development, or you've done an internship, done some pet projects, that is definitely a plus point, but it is not always an essential. You might ace the interview based on those 40 minutes, 50 minutes, but yeah, it's always a good feather on your hat to have.
So earlier you were talking about means when we were talking about projects, like difference between projects in college and everything. You were telling that the projects that we do in college are our projects. Means we mostly work in at most a group of 4 or 5, at most like that, right? And just the previous question that Soumya asked, you said that we most of us would be working with a team. Of course, like some project manager would be there, and he would be guiding our team and something like that, right? So going from a team of 4 to 5 to maybe probably a team of hundreds, I don't know what the scale is, but let's just say that somewhere around 100 people are working, and code is someone is throwing code from here to there, someone is updating the code base. Means a lot of thing is happening within the team only.
Hmm.
So how is all that managed professionally? Means that the code still works and nothing breaks down. The means some product is already online, and if
Hmm.
some mistake happens, then it would cost the company. So how is all that managed?
How is all that managed? Okay, that is where GitHub comes in. Okay, that is another thing very good to have on your resume. As simple as it is to learn, but it is a very essential skill. And in industry, there are still a lot of people who are not fluent with Git commands. Yeah, I think that is something we all should know. It is very easy to get started. You'll probably just need half a day, half a day of playing around with a dummy repository, and you'll be fluent with it. But it comes very handy. There is always a review process, so you don't need to worry that if one of your colleagues wrote something that has a bug, it will break your product. There's always a review process. They take care of that. They have money coming out of it. They will definitely take care of that. So there are like multiple review cycles. One maybe with your team lead, one with the product owner, and whatnot.
Okay, talking of GitHub, just a very casual question.
Hmm.
A few days ago, just 1 or 2 days ago, GitHub has started this program called as Arctic Code something
Correct.
that, yeah, preserving code just like something related to Voyager, similar to that in the same domain. So just as a someone working in the domain of computer science and having so much knowledge,
Hmm.
so how do you think that this kind of resource would actually benefit in the future? Means preserving this kind of a resource code and whatever like open source projects and all these things would help in future. Like there's a specific need for Voyager to contain all the records that it has, so that aliens would know what humanity is like. So what kind of purpose does this serve?
In my opinion, I wouldn't pass much of an opinion because I am not well educated on it yet. I was just reading a blog on it today morning. Yeah, today morning was it. So, yeah, maybe some due research on my part would have given you a better answer. But I think it's nice, it's promoting a more healthy development towards it. I mean, I would really want one of my repos to go there. I am really sad my repos did not make that cut yet. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's something even I need to do some research on.
Future generation would be looking at our code and laughing what dumb shit we used to write in past. So
We are all archives, and you may never know. There is something. Maybe this pandemic will do something after that. they have to somewhat. I don't know what is going to happen.
Talking of the placement, and when I asked you earlier when the learning actually stops, you said that every day we have to learn something new, right? So,
Right.
just following up on that, there's always a confusion between students to either go for higher studies or directly go for the placement in the college campus selection and everything. So,
Mhm.
what would you mean suggest according to your personal journey, whatever experience you have? So according to that, what would you suggest? One to go for higher studies or to directly get into placement into a
And
company?
especially at this time of pandemic,
Um,
yeah.
even I was going to add that. Correct.
See, pandemic or not, there is nothing that has stopped. If not anything, people are putting in, even more effort into doing things, and every big university is still, functional. Placements are happening. You can see for your seniors as well. No, the world has not stopped. We've just gone more digital. So in that case, yeah, that is not something you should, you can be at ease thinking, okay, there's a pandemic, 1.5 years I can chill. Not happening. Not happening at all. So about that dilemma of whether to continue with higher studies or going for a placement, that is absolutely a personal choice. I was stuck at that juncture. I was thoroughly thinking of going for an MTech. So I thought I should go appear for gate examinations, and there were like a couple of months where I was preparing for gate, and then it struck me, what if I don't crack gate? And I think that is a common,
Mm.
underconfidence we live in as fourth years, where our all your friends around you, people in your hostel are getting placed, and you still have to hold on to that particular date where you will go give your gate exam while you are already missing out on placements, mind you. So you cannot sit and study in peace when that is happening. Plus there will be additional pressure, your peer pressure is there, your parents are worried. If you have people who are very supportive of this, really it's very lucky for you, but that is there. So it is important you make up your mind, before you step into this fourth year journey, you make up your mind that this is what you're going to do. If you are absolutely sure you want to continue with your studies and pursue whichever domain that would be, some go for an MBA, some go for masters, some go abroad for their MS, you need to be sure. It is a very crucial juncture for us, and we haven't yet faced that world out there. So it's very confusing at times and nerve wracking. But you need to be sure, and it's a personal choice. It's definitely a personal choice.
Ma'am, I think we are already over the time, but I have just two more questions. Means one concluding question, one very very dumb question.
But
Did you get did you get beaten up by your hostel mates and all when you got placed? Like that is the ritual
we
of
are
it.
in the girls' hostel, so the beating for us happens a bit different. I mean, in the boys' hostel, they'll probably just get 50 belts and start belting
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. So for us, it is different. I don't know. Even for us, we had those belt things on, but it was, a more human way of it. We were not very, let's not kill this person. Plus, yeah, externally, at least girls' hostels, we are very, what
Safe.
can I say?
Poise, poise and nature.
Very poised, very poised, very poised. Yeah, we have our other shares of it. People generally come and ask for plenty of treats. For me, it was an
Mm,
advantage
true.
because by the time I got placed, everybody was out. They were A lot of people were placed already gone for internships. I was lucky. I was lucky. My roommates are also not there, so it was a very good thing for me.
Well, thank you, ma'am, for sharing all the insight that you had related to internship and placement. Because, like, even when I'm in second year and people are getting beaten up outside, I'm like, I feel a little FOMO. I'm look very job lecture, but thank you for that. So,
Okay, second year FOMO for not getting beaten up. You have your birthday, no?
Yeah. And just for concluding, ma'am, I would like to ask for from your personal experience, you have been working in DevOps domain for quite a while now. So for someone who is because recently I started to see this trend on LinkedIn that people are actually means pointing out DevOps as something to start learning from college only per se. There are certain courses and all these things are going on. So for someone who wants to actually get into start working in DevOps domain. So what would your suggestions be to them?
Again, because you're a fresher, there is very less, mostly a zero expectation for you to have that domain knowledge. But the best part is always to know your system subjects. So your OS, DBMS, knowing your data structures, it's a life savior to know those subjects, and that is something that will help you wherever you are. On the job you are going to learn, so do not get too stressed out that I need to prepare for these I need to prepare for a, go for a machine learning training, go for a DevOps training. There are, like, I don't know, thousands of such trainings going on around you, but that is again a business going around. Don't fuel it. I hate taking those courses. I am completely against those courses. And if you are very inclined, there is plenty of content on the internet. You should, you know go hit bases with all of them.
Right. Okay, ma'am. Thank you for taking the time, all the effort that you made to be with us today. So, do you know the classic means YouTube drill? Like, share, and subscribe.
Okay. They do some like shared kind of thing, no? We have to do
Right.
that?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
It would be great if you would just say that one line for us.
Okay. I have some amazing juniors here who are doing an amazing job for their batch and the batches yet to come. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Was amazing talking to you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
for
fun.
joining in, everybody. So we'll meet you in next Gupshup episode. Thank you. Till then, stay safe, stay happy. Bye bye.